Right. So guys, what we are going to be doing today is we are going to be going through some of my favorites and some of my least favorite anime that I happen to watch in fall 2023. Now, normally with my seasonal anime tier lists, I try to watch as many shows as I can, but I am not going to lie to you. I genuinely think it is impossible to watch every show that airs in every season nowadays, even if you have a even if you have a season like winter, which is kind of got less shows than usual. Fall was absolutely stacked with shows. So every show that I'm about to rate, I will be completely transparent and say some of them I haven't finished, some of them I read ahead in the manga after watching the first few episodes, and some of them I dropped 4 episodes or so into. But a lot of them I did finish. I ended up watching more anime this fall season than I have in a very long time, and even then, I only finished, like, I think a good, I'd say 10 to 13 shows, which is still quite I'm like, I only finished like 10 to 13 shows, and I'm like, wait, that's still quite a lot. It doesn't seem like a lot. It doesn't feel like a lot, but it you know, it used to be a lot just to rate this many shows, but like when I see 10 to 13 shows, I was looking at this list, right? I was looking at this list. I was like, this doesn't look like a lot of shows. And this is like a good 30 odd shows that I can talk about. And I'm like, wait, that still doesn't look like a lot of shows. And I'm like, the amount of anime that is airing this season is breaking my fucking mind. So, we're going to go through this in this random order, starting off with Berserk of Gluttony. Now, I'm gonna put 3 shows next to each other. Actually, I'm gonna find the 3 shows next to each other because this season we had. I know Shonen has the Dark Trio. This season we had the Edge Trio. Where's the other one? Where's the other one? Okay. This season we had the Edge Trio, right? We had, normally in every season, we have just like one show that is the edgy show of the season. This season, we had a lot of edgy shows. I mean, you can argue something like Death Mount Deathplay Season 2 was edgy. You can argue something like Eminence and Shadow is edgy, which it most definitely is, but also it's self-aware edgy. These are 3 shows that are just pure edge without any kind of self-awareness at all. This is it. And I tried giving all of them a chance, starting off with Berserk of Gluttony, which out of the 3 edgy shows this season, this one was someone forgotten to sharpen the edge of this one. We went to the blacksmith of this one, and it was like a apprentice blacksmith that was like sharpening this one. This one was like a dull edge. This one was pretty goddamn lame. In fact, it did the worst thing you could possibly do with an edgy show, which is try to take. It took a lot of aspects. It took basically a lot of aspects from a lot of different shows in its own genre, tried to just add a little bit of edginess, but didn't really commit to anything super fully. So you had this main character. Okay, it's kind of like a meme right now to say the main character kind of looks like Kirito, but it's just like this is now every edgy isekai / or fantasy. This one's a fantasy show. It's basically like just every fantasy power fantasy show. But also you have I remember watching the first few episodes of this, and it was like going through a tick list of which different narrative trope can I pick from somewhere else? So he has the gluttony ability, where even though he's like super low level, so it's kind of like solo leveling in a sense as well, because he's super low level and you can't really level up in the world, except this guy has a little super OP ability that allows him to level up without actually leveling himself up, because he can just steal like the skill of other people's. I'm kind of going through this with my bare bones basic memory, so apologies if I get the nuance wrong, but it's like, I remember his ability was a combination between the guy from Solo Leveling and Rimuru from Slime, and then he's getting bullied. Like, it's the most typical, this is the start of redo of healer without all the SA in it, and it's just like the pink hair girl is the bully, but he has a knight that is like super strong and super high up in their class level that is protecting him for some reason. So this is just the beginning of now I'm getting confused. How to pick up girls in the dungeon. And it's and her name is Roxy, right? It's Dan Machi. It's like, is this, I can say every edgy power fantasy isekai / fantasy show, and this show somehow has taken some aspect from it. If I say something like Arifureta, yeah, you have like, it's almost like that, but just less edgy than Arifureta. This is, I swear to God, one of the most forgettable edgy fantasy shows, and I did drop it just because I want to see how edgy it would be, and just to top it off, he wears a mask. He wears a mask, guys. He wears a skull mask. I'm gonna put this in D tier, starting off low. All right, Ragna Crimson. Out of the big three, out of the big three edgy shows of the season, is, from a critical standpoint, probably the small three, actually, the edge three. All right, out of the edge three this season, probably from a critical standpoint, is the best one, right? It is the best one. It is enjoyable enough that it's not like completely boring like something like Berserk of Gluttony. The animation is decent. It has a decent, it's just, if you're looking for some turn your brain off power fantasy edgy fun, this is probably going to be like your junk food of the season. This is very much kind of like eating a McDonald's Big Mac, you know? It's not the standout. It's not the most nutritious meal you can go for, but it is enjoyable. It is enjoyable. It is right there in B tier, I would say, because it's not something that's going to be high caliber, definitely not S tier, but it's some nice junk food, you know? It's some nice junk food. Just say the word, God? No, I won't say the word, even though this is technically the middle of the tier list. This is technically the middle of the tier list. It's like a right in the middle of B tier, I was going to say. It's right in the middle of B tier. It's enjoyable. It's enjoyable. This was like my junk food of the season. But we have to get to Kingdom of Ruin, right? Because if we were to go by pure, like, you know, critically, on a critical standpoint, yes, Ragna Crimson is the best show out of these three shows. But holy fucking shit. This is such a bad show. This is so bad. This is an absolute garbage show, but it's so bad and it's so edgy and it's so stupid. I kind of really dig it, man. I kind of really enjoy it. I enjoyed this more than Ragna Crimson, but for the completely wrong reason. I enjoyed this more than Ragna Crimson, but for the completely wrong reason, just because it was like so shit. And this was the type of show where you pop open a beer and you're just watching the stupidest. It's so unnecessarily edgy as well. Do you know one thing? Do you know one thing that I respect about a show like this? It's that the protagonist is such a fucking dickhead and is so hateable, and they don't even try to redeem him at all. Like it's just pure. He is an edgy boy who is going to go for revenge, and he's just gonna kill everyone, and then everyone is like, logic just goes out the fucking window with this show. The thing that blows my mind is that I think Kingdom of Ruin actually has a pretty interesting world. Like it actually has a pretty interesting world, because I'm a sucker for any world that combines a magic system and technology as well. But watching Kingdom of Ruin is like what would happen if some guy tried to describe the last season of Attack on Titan without any prior context, and you just describe the final season of Attack on Titan to somebody, and somebody tries to write a story based on your description. This would be Kingdom of Ruin. This would be Kingdom of Ruin. From a writing perspective, this would be all the way in like, this would be like all the way down here in like F tier. From an entertainment standpoint, I would put it like, personally, I put it like at high B from an entertainment standpoint. So we'll put it somewhere in the middle. We'll balance it out. We'll balance it out. But yeah, but one thing you should garner from this is that don't be a Berserk of Gluttony. If you're gonna commit to being shit, just commit to being shit. I'd rather you commit to being so shitty and so edgy, because even that is way more memorable and way more entertaining than something that is just taking every trope from every other series. Double down being shit, yeah. Someone gets me, man. All right, coming up to Dr. Stone, which I haven't watched this one. I am on the fence about catching up to Dr. Stone, because a lot of Dr. Stone fans, they say that this is the arc that is really, really good, but I do not know if it's going to be so good it's worth me catching up to, I think, another 2 seasons worth. So I am going to keep this reserved right now. I have a lot of anime that I do want to watch. I have not heard enough about this to really convince me to catch up. If there is one show that is at the top of my to-watch list of something that I think I would really enjoy and fans praise the shit about, it's either going to be right now... I'm drawing a blank right now. What is the one where... Okay, this is going to sound super... Okay, FMA. Okay, funny guys, funny. FMA. No, that's for a dark day, guys. That's for a dark day. What's the? This can sound so weird out of context. But what's the one where they have an anime battle where 2 guys try to ejaculate onto each other? Yo, you guys predicted it before I even said anything, man. Golden Kamuy? Yeah, that's it. Golden Kamuy. Golden Kamuy. If there is one show that is on the top of my I want to catch up with this so I can see what all the fuss is about, it is fucking Golden Kamuy. Because I have seen so many out of context clips from that show, and that show seems insane. It kind of seems like something as insane as Baki or some shit like that. So that is on the top of my list of shit that I want to watch. All right, moving on to the Firefighter anime. This is, I can't remember the name. It's like Daigo or something like that, right? Firefighter Daigo. What's the name of this? God, it's so down on the list. Where the hell is it? Nobody watched it. Apparently nobody watched it. This one was decent. I felt it was weird, right? Because this one opened up with a full-on, I didn't like, for the record, this is one of the shows that I didn't finish. This one opened up on all of Tokyo, just on fire and everything like that. And that really, really hooked me in, like, really quickly. And what I felt about this was I felt it was more educational than anything. I learned so much about firefighters just from watching this anime and what they have to go through, which full-on fucking respect to firefighters. As an anime, the rescue scenes were less intense than I thought they were going to be. It was still enjoyable. It was just less drama and less intensity than I thought it was going to be, because I think the opening of the first episode really put me into the wrong mindset of this, because it really opened up on something really epic, a disaster on the scale of an entire fucking city being on fire. And then this didn't really hook me as much as I thought it would. But it was still enjoyable enough. I wouldn't recommend this to anyone if you didn't already have some kind of interest in firefighting, like actual firefighting. I feel like this is a niche appeal. I don't think it does enough to really appeal out of that niche. So I'm gonna put this at a solid B. It was fine. It was good. It was solid. The only problem is I don't know how much you would enjoy this if you didn't already have a big interest in firefighters. Fire Force is the only true firefighter anime. Excuse me, my guy. Excuse me. Let's not forget about that Trigger film. Excuse me, Promare? Hello? Okay, we can fight fire, but what if we have giant fucking mechs to fight fire as well? Trigger documentary, you mean? only Trigger documentaries. Okay, this one. What was this? What was the name of this one? This had. Got so many anime aired this season. The problem this one had was there was a lot of competition in this year, and this season as well. The Inexperienced You and Something is Kimi Zero. This is the one where the guy confesses to the main girl, and then the main girl is like, sure, why not? Let's go out, even though we've never talked before. My big problem with romances like this nowadays is that I look at the main guy, and the way they try to portray him as a likable guy is because he gets offered sex, right? He gets offered sex, and then he says no. and weebs are like, yo, ain't no way a guy can do that. No, what? You can do that? The problem is, right? The problem is that nowadays there are so many different romances with so many different selling points, right? And different hooks that This one just kind of falls flat for me nowadays. This one didn't really do too much that went above and beyond what you can see in any other typical romance anime. And especially, we're gonna get to the one after this, right? Because I'm gonna compare this, right? But when I see a guy basically get interest from a girl by being the most pure, basic goody two-shoe guy, I'm like, this is as much of a power fantasy as my, like, everyone clowns on your isekai power fantasies, and sometimes I see a romance where a guy is the most bare bones basic nice guy of all time, and that's what makes him get the girl. And I'm like, this is as much of a fucking fantasy as all of this other shit, man, and no one is calling this out. Because it reminded me of I remember the romance that aired earlier this year. I can't remember the name, but it was a romance where how the guy talked to the girl was the guy gave the girl an umbrella on a rainy day. And it was like, and then after he gave him the umbrella, she suddenly became a housewife for him. She suddenly became a housewife. And I was like, the angel next door, yes, the angel next door. And I was like, the thing was, it was so highly rated as well. And I'm like, bro, this is like the bare bones basic shit, man. This is pure fantasy. Shall I just go outside and just start giving every girl umbrellas and just hoping one day I'm gonna get a wife? Is that the new strat here? Is that the new strat? Because I want to see more in my romances now than just a guy being nice, all right? Because it always seems like in the context of the story, the girl falls for the guy because the guy does something nice. But if you pull this into like the wider, if you put this into the context of just normal life, a lot of times in romance anime, you see a guy doing something nice, and it's just like the most basic nice thing anyone can just do. Like, you know, like, oh, I want to, like, this guy is like, oh, I just want to get to know you more personally before we sleep with each other, you know, or before we have sex. And I'm like, that seems just like good, decent advice that most people should follow. And granted, a lot of people don't follow that, huh? A lot of people don't follow that, but, you know, I would like to see something a bit more nowadays. This one goes in C tier. I didn't really enjoy this one too much because, you know, what I want to see is some fucking giga chads like Rentaro, man. We talk about bland romance protagonists. We talk about nice guy romance protagonists, all right? Look, name me a romance. Look, this guy asked the girl out for like a dare or something like that. He asked the girl out because they dared him to, because he has negative riz, and the girl, by pure chance, was just like, sure, why not? Rentaro got rejected 100 times. 100 times before he achieved any success. That is a commitment, man. That is someone deserving of the position that he is in. But not only that, Rentaro isn't just the nice boyfriend. Rentaro isn't just the nice guy. Rentaro goes above and beyond for every single one of his girls, man. And that's what sets, number one, Rentaro apart from every other bland harem protagonist out there, okay? This is, you read this, and you read the premise of 100 Girlfriends, and you're like, man, God, I wish that was me. God, that should have been me, not him. And then you actually read the manga, you actually watch the anime, and you're like, can I be, is he taking boyfriend requests? Can I be his partner, please? Can I be his girlfriend? I don't want to be him. I want to be with him. Man, teach me. Teach me. Like, the biggest thing about 100 Girlfriends is I came into this thinking it was just going to be a haha meme show, but it is genuinely funny. It is genuinely, I did not expect 100 Girlfriends to be genuinely this fucking funny. And I don't know if that's because my only big complaints about 100 Girlfriends is that I don't think you would be able to enjoy this much if you weren't already really knowledgeable and invested in basically the trash harem genre. Hi, that's me. I was never a functional member of society. That's why I love this show. Are you a functional member of society and do you not watch trash harem show and get way too invested? Then you're probably not going to like rent a girlfriend. You're probably not going to like 100 Girlfriends as much as I did. So for me, this is one of my favorite harem shows of all time. Like, period. This is probably like up there as like one of my favorite harem shows of all time. Part of that is because of how much harem I've ingested before. But if not, if you don't like your harems, it's probably going to be somewhere around here. You know, it's probably going to be somewhere around here or like low A. For me, it's like low S tier. I'm going to give it that. I'm going to give it that, man. S is way too high, bro. Nah, I'm just fully embracing my trash man vibes now, man. Okay. Moving on to the detective anime. What's it called? Kamonohashi. Kamonohashi, Ron. So sometimes I like to have sometimes I like to watch something different. Sometimes I like a nice detective anime. Wait, let me check something quickly. Because I'm trying to remember the name of the other one. Spring Anime 2023. What's the name of the other anime? Okay, I think that was the name. All right. So sometimes I like to watch detective anime. It's something different. It's not a genre that I'm super into. So every so often I get into the mood to watch a new one and just get invested in some guy solving cases. This is pretty much everything you can expect from just a standard detective show with a little bit of a twist. You know, every detective show has like a little bit of a twist. I think my big problem is that I only have a certain amount of these kinds of shows I like to watch, and it really had some tough competition this year. This one was like a high C tier, low B tier, I guess. It wasn't bad by any means. There was exactly one detective show that aired. Does it deserve to go on the same level as this? Now, I'll put it low B. There was one detective show that obviously aired this season that was a freaking god tier detective show. We're going to get to that one. But in terms of the other one that I liked this year, I really liked Undead Girl Murder Farce. Fuck, I already forgot the name. Undead Murder Farce, was that the one? The one where the girl had her head in a cage. Oh, and Mau Mau as well. Fuck, that's not a detective show. That's not a detective show, guys. That's something. Was it Undead Girl Murder Farce? Oh my god, that was the name. I actually got it right. I said Undead Girl Murder Farce out loud, and then something in my brain was like, that's a dumbass name. That's definitely not the name. I swear to God, that's definitely not the name. But we had Undead Girl Murder Farce that came out a few seasons ago, and I thought that was a highly this detective show. That was probably one of my favorites that wasn't like one of the mainstream detective shows that aired this season. But in terms of Kamonohashi Ron, I don't think it does enough to really set itself apart. It really tries, but it just didn't grab me as much as some of the other shows. It's fine. I wouldn't recommend this over some of the other shows I'm about to recommend. But if you are like deep into your detective shows, I didn't really like the supernatural aspect of this. I didn't get that. Like, I get that the main character, he was meant to be quirky. Ooh, he's a quirky detective. He's not like other detectives, and I'm fine with that. I didn't really gel with like why he just tells people to low tier god themselves, and then it just happens. It's, you know, it's like I didn't really get that. So I'm gonna put this at a low B tier. You need to love yourself now. That's what I'm saying. Okay, so we had 2 racing anime this season, so I'm going to talk about both of them at the same time. So we had the sequel to Initial D, and we had Overtake, and it says a lot that I don't remember this name. What's the name of this again? MF Ghost, that's it. We had MF Ghost and we have Overtake. And initially, I was way more hyped for MF Ghost because, as I said, this is the sequel to Initial D. We get to hear Eurobeat again. We get to hear, you know, we get to see more racing with more Eurobeat, more hype. And I enjoyed it a lot. I enjoyed it a lot. My big problem with this was that it kind of felt like watching Star Wars The Force Awakens. Was that episode 7? It was Star Wars Force Awakens, right? Which was, I felt like, the only reason I felt like I liked this was because of how much of a fan I was for like the original Star Wars or the original Initial D. It was great fan service for like the first few episodes, and then I was waiting for it to do something more, to just be a nice nostalgia trip. And then it just never went there. It just never went there. It was enjoyable only because Initial D exists, and I didn't really see it doing anything that the original didn't already do. In terms of fan service, in terms of me reliving the hype of nostalgia, it definitely went there. It has some hype moments in it, but I'm going to forget about this. I'm going to forget about this, and I'm probably going, like, this is riding on the coattails of the Initial D, and I don't really see it going anywhere further than that. I could be wrong for like future seasons, but from what I saw, this was also like a high B tier. Overtake was something that really, really surprised me, because I have no interest in Formula 1 or Formula 4, but this was the emotional investment I wanted from MF Ghost, basically. MF Ghost was like the good fan service for a good old-fashioned racing anime. This was the racing anime I watched this year that I finished all the way, and I really, really enjoyed a lot. And part of that big reason is because this is a racing show that follows it doesn't follow Formula 1, but it's Formula 4. So it's more of the amateur racing show. It's more of the amateur racing scene. And one thing that makes it a really good underdog story, right, is because it's not the highest end Formula 1 tracks or, you know, that kind of races. You have such a different variety of people that get into Formula 4. And it follows, obviously, the main character whose agency doesn't have a lot of funding, right? And there's, you know, it legitimately makes sense because in Formula 4, it's more of an amateur scene. So some people just are super rich and can afford all of the expensive equipment that comes to building a Formula 4 car. And some people just do it for the pure thrill of the race, but don't have the professional funding. And I think that's just such a good setup for a good underdog story, you know, because it makes sense in the context of its own competition and its own world, and it's just a really good setting to tell a compelling story that, you know, everyone loves a good underdog story. Everyone loves a good underdog story, especially in a sports anime. And I think this was probably my favorite sports anime that aired this season. So I'm going to give this one an A tier. This one I feel did way better job than MF Ghost in terms of building up its characters, building up the stakes, and getting us to care about the actual storylines of the characters. I really enjoyed Overtake a lot. This is like the closest comparison I can give to Overtake is that it's kind of like the Haikyuu of racing. That's kind of the best analogy I can use for this one. You don't have to give a shit about Formula 4 or racing to really care about the storylines of the characters, because they do a really good job of building up the characters for this one. Is it that hype? It's not of the level of Haikyuu yet, but in terms of the feeling, in terms of the whole approach they take, it is very, very similar to Haikyuu. And very, very good. Every season has a fucking wild ass show. Every season has a wild ass show. and this season, that was definitely Under Ninja, man. I don't know how to rate this one. S tier. Yeah, actually, these two shows were both wild for different reasons. Haven't watched it. Under Ninja is literally the phrase, never let your enemy know your next move. Because every time, when I watch Under Ninja, I genuinely did not know what the next play was gonna be, what the next move was gonna be, man. They take the philosophy of being a ninja, and then they put that into the anime, man, because you cannot tell. You do not know what's going to be happening next in Under Ninja. This is a fucking fun show as well. I don't know if it's just my own personal preference, but I did have a lot of fun with the show. I don't know if I would prefer, because my biggest problem with Under Ninja was that the production values of Under Ninja were pretty meh. It kind of gave me the vibe that I should just go off and read the manga, because the manga is from the same mangaka that did I Am Hero, which is a freaking, wait, let me get it right now. Yeah. Alright, it is this manga. I actually had a volume. He's the manga of this manga, which is also a really, really good manga as well. And also fucking insane. So this guy knows how to make a freaking thrilling ride. And I think I'm going to just read the manga of Under Ninja, because I watched about half of this and I had a really good time, but I kind of got the vibe that this is a read the manga kind of show, but I'm torn on it. I'm torn on it because when the show has really good comedic timing, right? The animation isn't great, but when the show wants to go hard in its comedy and its reveals, it still goes pretty damn hard. So I'm kind of torn in this one. Last half goes crazy, but the CG kind of ruins it. I'm sad. I'm sad. I'm sad. But yeah. This is to me, it's not as high as Overtake, but it's a high B. It's a high B. I enjoyed this one a lot. I enjoyed this one. All right. Moving on to Migi and Dali? Migi and Dali. I was like Migi and Dali. This is a show that came from the late mangaka of Sakamoto Desuka, and it is as wild as something like Sakamoto Desuka. One thing that really stood out about this, right, is that it's a comedy anime and it's really weird. This is like if you took the satirical aspects of Sakamoto Desuka and you put that show even more in like that uncanny valley. This is a show that lives in that uncanny valley feeling, is the best way I can describe it. Did I disconnect? Oh no, okay, sorry. I thought you guys were talking about something completely else right now. So yeah. This is one thing that really confused me about this was that, not confused me so much, but one thing that I thought to myself was that this could have been a really good horror manga / anime, in fact, because it is technically like a comedy anime, right? It is technically a comedy anime, but there was some parts of this that were really unnerving to me. Like the entire concept of this is that we have a rich family that adopts a one singular blonde kid, or what they perceive to be one singular blonde kid. And then what happens is that at the beginning, the parents don't know that these are actually twins. And then because they're twins, at the beginning, they just completely fuck about with these parents, right? And you're thinking at the beginning, oh, these are like really smart twins. They're going completely over the top in their trolling. And then around episode 3 or episode 4, I can't remember, you think to yourself, oh, are these kids really smart? And then you realize, oh no, these kids are actually really fucking dumb. Oh no, these kids don't know. These kids aren't smart at all. These kids aren't smart. They don't know. They're getting the completely wrong read of everything, man. And part of me wishes that, hey, this kind of went the wholesome route in the end. Part of me wishes that this kind of did go down the psychological thriller route. This would actually have been a really effective psychological thriller in my eyes, because this has all of the makings of a really good horror movie, and then they just kind of made it into something completely different. Blood wanted another monster. This could have genuinely been another monster. As it is, it was a very weird show. It was, I don't know how much I enjoyed it, but it did definitely intrigue me a lot. I would put it kind of in the same vein as Under Ninja for me. I know some people really liked it. It was a bit too weird. It was a bit too weird for my taste. It's a bit too weird for my taste. Some people really, really liked it, but it would have grabbed my attention more if they honestly made this a horror anime. And I know I'm like wishing for something that is just not the show itself. But that is my opinion. Moving on to Dead Mount Death Play Season 2. Fucking A tier, baby. Oh! I like this a lot. Especially with the fucking crazy developments we got to see this season. I don't want to spoil this because I've talked about this enough. Really, the first season was so boring. It's boring. I mean, I disagree. I'm not sure what you were looking for, because one thing that I can't remember what the first season covered. Boring. The comedy missed. I don't really think the comedy missed. Maybe because I'm coming into this as a manga reader now and knowing kind of where the story goes. This is coming from the same guy that did Baccano no Durara. I talked about the first season, and I just enjoy this guy's works a lot. And one thing I've really loved about this is how they portrayed an actual reverse isekai. But not just a reverse isekai, but a reverse isekai with an absolutely insane fucking cast. Every character in this is just like the main character of this is meant to be some undead lord from another world. And then he gets reverse isekai'd into our world, and you think, man, this must be in this character's, like, this is a special character because he's the main character. And then the more the story develops, the more insane characters get introduced, and every single character has a unique flair to them that is in some ways even more insane and even more memorable than the original than the original character that was introduced. And he just, like, I think what he learned with Undead Murder Farce, I got this open, with Dead Mount Death Play. Undead Girl. I'm getting all of these edgy fucking titles mixed up in my mind, man. One thing I like is just how he slowly introduces this new character and slowly makes them relevant into the plots. And I really think that Dead Mount Death Play really popped off in this season, especially like the second half of this season. I think maybe to everyone who found the first season kind of that was more because it was just introducing the different worlds and the different characters, and then just seeing it all just like come together and seeing how every story intersects with each other. It is just pure. It is like, this is the type of show that I love, and this is why I liked Baccano, and this is why I liked Durarara. And the season was fucking insane. I want more people. If the anime was too slow for you, I honestly, genuinely, just read the manga. Read the manga, because that's what I did when I watched Dead Mount Death Play for the first time. I watched like the first 4 episodes of Dead Mount Death Play Season 1, and then I read the manga, so it never really felt slow to me. That's my best advice for that. But this is, this season of Dead Mount Death Play was definitely more exciting than the first season. Classic read the manga, alright. I mean, I don't think the anime was bad. I just think, yeah, it does take some time to get going. I didn't really feel that because I read the manga. Alright, moving on to 16-Bit Sensation. This one was I felt like this was a solid show. I'm kind of I'm kind of a sucker. I'm kind of a sucker when it comes to time travel. It's I'm a sucker when it comes to time travel. This one's a high B tier for me. Now the sci-fi aspect got kind of weird. I was okay with it. I was okay with it, mostly because it was mostly just a gimmick that to get me invested into what the show was meant to be about, which is just more of being a look into the old otaku culture back in the 90s, and that was actually genuinely super fucking interesting to me. There were some side plots that I wasn't really interested in, but the general thing of just having this time travel gimmick, all right, I'm invested. I love time travel. I'm just like, my brain's just that easy to get invested. You add time travel to it, and then suddenly you use that as an excuse to look through the old 90s Akihabara and otaku landscape back at the time, and you're like, oh, okay, this is really good. This is really cool. Seeing the main character being super fucking arrogant, being like, I'm an S-tier artist, baby. I just this is easy mode. Hire me right now. I am going to blow your mind with my art skills. And then having to paint with a mouse and just her completely sucking at it. I was like, okay. Imagine, you were truly goated. Like, artists back then were truly goated because imagine having these art skills and painting with a mouse and using MS Paint or some shit, man. She pulled it off though, yeah, she did pull it off, but it was genuinely like super interesting. And I don't think you would like the show if you don't have an interest in, if you've never played a visual novel, you probably won't have any interest in this. Part of the big reason that I like the show was just because I've played some really OG visual novels back in the day, and it was actually just genuinely super interesting to me to see what the entire landscape was like back then. So yeah, this is a very enjoyable show. And if you have any interest in old otaku culture or just old visual novels, like back in the key days, I recommend you give this one a watch, because this one's very nostalgic as well. All right. Okay. Real shit. We are getting to the real shit now, guys. Real shit. Okay, where does this go, guys? Where does this go? Is it ever gonna go anywhere else, baby? Is it ever going to go anywhere else than S tier, guys? Woo-hoo-hoo. So I was scared going to Eminence of Shadow Season 2, that Season 1 showed all of its cards. We saw the I Am Atomic scene not once, but twice. And I was like, has it shown all of its cards? Is Season 2 going to be as interesting for me? And I can wholeheartedly say that fuck yes, it was, and the way it ended made me even more hype to see what comes next. The first arc of Season 2, I think, is possibly the weakest arc. I do like the big standout for that arc for me was just seeing Sid constantly say, the moon is red, we don't have time. And just seeing him, my man said one line for like the first 3 episodes, and I'm like, all right, this is peak, all right, this is peak. But then, we get introduced to his John Smith alter ego, which it feels like pulling the same trick, because we saw Mundane Man last season, we saw John Smith this season, and I'm like, you're just doing the same shit, but somehow somehow, it works every fucking time. It works every fucking time. But it also made me realize, this season is what made me realize the real strength of Eminence and Shadow, right? Because I don't know if this is a hot take. Right? I genuinely think that Eminence and Shadow has some of the best world building you can find in the isekai genre. There is obviously there are shows like Mushoku Tensei, like Bookworm, that have better world building. But this Eminence and Shadow, I came into this as like, oh, this is kind of like a self-aware half parody of the isekai genre. But in order to be self-aware, you still need to build up an interesting world and interesting characters. And it genuinely has a super intricate world with characters that actually have their own motivations and their own, like, the world has its own political system that genuinely makes sense and is not built to, it's a world that still exists without Sid's influence, which makes it so fucking interesting when you add an absolute wild card like Sid to the equation. I think that's what makes it work so well, because at the end of season 2, right, you know what's going to happen. You kind of know what the play of this arc is going to be, and you kind of know what the play of the arc, every time a new arc begins and they kind of like showcase, hey, these are the characters that are going to be involved in the arc, here's the stage that's being set, and you know the exact stage that is being set because it makes sense in the world. It makes sense. Like, this is, the world is moving like this. The countries have their own self-interest. These characters want this, that character wants that. You can see what the chess, how the board is going to play out, what kind of chess pieces are being placed on the board when a new arc is being introduced, and you know that they are setting up the pieces so that the stage for Sid is going to be the biggest stage possible with all the chess pieces that are being set up in place, and you know what the stage is going to be, and you know how it's going to play out. And I think it's that anticipation that just makes the payoff so fucking worth it, because you know what's going to happen, but it doesn't matter, because you know that when Sid makes his grand entrance and when Sid just pops off, it doesn't matter that you can predict what's going to happen, because that's exactly by design. You know what's going to happen. It doesn't matter, because when it does happen, you get the payoff and it hits every single fucking time. And then the ending of Eminence and Shadow Season 2 was just the cherry on top, which, you know, it was the cherry on top that made me realize, oh, okay, genuinely, this ain't just a self-aware parody. This just has an interesting plot. This just has an interesting fucking plot. And I can't wait for the movie. I'm not going to spoil what the ending is, but there was a point where I didn't know where they could take the plot, and then they took the plot somewhere I genuinely didn't think they would take the plot. And it's just genuinely one of my favorite isekais right now. I think it's my second behind Mushoku Tensei. And I did not think it would get that high. And yeah, I will say Delta's a good girl. Delta is a good girl. Delta is a good girl, man. Maybe I've been convinced. You know, the era of cat girls has gone on for too long. For too long. You know, I always thought to myself, you know, we always see cat girls in anime. Where are all the good doggos in anime? And I can wholeheartedly say that thanks to Delta, we have a good fucking doggo, man. We have a good doggo. All right, I'm convinced. I'm convinced. But yeah, genuinely, we'll see if it remains my second favorite isekai when ReZero Season 3 comes out, and if ReZero Season 3 pops off, then maybe it'll go down a peg. But right now, after finishing Eminence and Shadow Season 2, I can wholeheartedly say this is genuinely my second favorite isekai ever out right now. It's just so much fun. All right. Moving on to Tokyo Revengers, the show that I am not watching because I do not get the appeal of Tokyo Revengers, especially if it's the anime. The anime always had shoddy production values to me, so I never understood why anyone wouldn't just read the manga. So we're gonna move on to Pluto. God, this was such a fucking banger season. That's a bit cold. All right. Anyone who knows Pluto would know that Naoki Urasawa is the absolute GOAT. This is never going in anything but S tier. This is a fucking S tier show. There is nobody that has such a mastery of suspense and mystery, like, especially in the manga world, as much as Naoki Urasawa. Now, this isn't my favorite work of his. This isn't my favorite work of his, but still, if this is one of his weaker works, god damn, how strong are your that just shows the quality of the best works that you put out, man. I came into this knowing that it was a re-adaptation or reimagining of Astro Boy, and I completely forgot that halfway through because I was just so engrossed with the mystery and the story. One thing I think Urasawa is a master at doing, right, is the way he sets up this mystery and the way he gets you invested in his plot lines, that gets you asking all the right questions without giving you the exact full picture to know exactly what's going on. And then you start asking these questions. You're like trying to piece it all together. And then he'll switch off to this fucking side story with characters you have no idea about, who are not relevant to the plot, and you're like, why the fuck should I care about these characters? Why do I even care about them? Go back to the main mystery, because I was invested in that. And then he will stick with these characters. And then you get so invested in this side story, you forget why you were invested in the overarching story to begin with. He will fucking tear your heart to shreds with this side story. And then at the end of it, he'll go, actually, this was relevant to the main plot the entire time. This had clues to all of the main plots. And here it is. And he would just like reveal it all. And he doesn't just do this with Pluto. He does this with Monster. He does this with 20th Century Boys. He always does this, and it's always fucking insane. It works every single time. Because aside from him being like just a master of mystery and suspense, which he is. This is why his works are so well done. There's always a real heart to the stories that he tries to tell. There's a real heart behind them. And normally, when you read a mystery manga, you read it to get the epic reveals and the epic plot lines. And then with some of his works, like, you just end up fucking crying, man. Your heart gets torn to shreds. But then you also are really intrigued with this world that he's built up as well. My only issue with Pluto is that it didn't have my favorite endings of his works, and I feel like a lot of this was to do with the Astro Boy aspects of this, adaptation. Felt a little bit rushed, a little bit shonen-y, but it didn't really, after watching it, it didn't really detract from my overall enjoyment. The ending did what it needed to do. It was a little bit cliche. But to me, that didn't detract from the entire fully 8-episode run that I was just like fully immersed with. It was fine. Very similar to the Attack on Titan ending, where I'm like, this didn't blow my mind, but it did what it needed to do, and it didn't ruin everything that came before it, which is, that's fine. That's fine. If everything before that is just like S tier writing, that's just everything it needs to do. And it's rare that you can find a writer that can make you care about so many different characters and have every single episode be so dense with not just like ideas, like different philosophical ideas, but just a message that rings true to the heart. And I just think I can talk about Naoki Urasawa all day. I think I've been rambling for a very, very long time already. What I wanted to say is Pluto is not his best work, but it's still really, really, really fucking good. And it has all of the makings of what makes Naoki Urasawa such an amazing writer and such an amazing mangaka. So yeah, this is S tier for me. Man, I rambled on for a pretty long time there. One thing I did want to say was that I do think my second complaint about Pluto was there are some aspects that do feel a little bit dated as well. But I think that's inevitable when this is like, Pluto is a 20-year-old story, and it was a 20-year-old story that was readapting Astro Boy. So that was my only other complaint. Okay, moving on to Shy. This one I haven't finished yet. I felt like Shy. This was a show, I didn't finish it, and mostly that's just because it didn't really appeal to me. Does it really deserve to be on this tier? I didn't finish it though. Yeah, I didn't finish it, and I don't have any interest in finishing it, so I'll put it C tier. I felt like this is what happens. It's kind of felt like a magical girl show in disguise. It was kind of like, it was kind of marketed as a superhero action show, but I felt like it was more similar to Magical Girl vibes, and I am not really a fan of the super shy, introverted main character kind of trope. There are a few exceptions, obviously. There's something like Bocchi. Absolutely love Bocchi. Bocchi is great. Bocchi is the exception to the rule, not the norm. And this one, honestly, just didn't have enough to grab me outside of that appeal. I did like the fact that I did find it funny that basically every country has a hero that represents the vibe of that country, and then the Russian girl is just this drunk ass this drunk ass blonde girl that just drinks vodka all the time, and then who represents Japan? It's Shy, the socially awkward anime girl that has social anxiety. Okay, yes, definitely checks out, definitely lore accurate. But unfortunately, this did not have enough outside to appeal to me. I heard that from the manga readers, they were really, really excited about this. Maybe it gets better, but the first 4 episodes didn't grab me, unfortunately. I only watched 4 episodes with this one. USA has guns, or... okay. Moving on to The Returner's Magic Should Be Special. It's not special. I can't remember the name. It's The Returners. The Returners one. So... so here's a little spoiler. Didn't actually watch the anime for this one. I watched a single episode, and I went off and read the manga for this one, or the manhwa, I should say, because I watched the first episode and I was like, this looks like very production values, and everyone kept raving about the manhwa because they were like, the manhwa's so much better, and I'm like, okay, I'm 55 chapters into the manhwa. When does it get good? when will manga readers stop capping, man? When will manga readers stop capping? They're all like, yo, you gotta read the manhwa, man. You gotta read the manhwa. And I was like, it's aight. It's aight. It's no solo leveling, I'll give you that. You know, solo leveling had god tier art and was like fucking hype. The manhwa, it's aight. It's another regression manhwa. I have read so many regression manhwa, and what's the Chinese version of that as well? This does not stand out at all from anything else that I've read in the regression genre, guys. Because one thing I will like, one thing I will say, is that not Donghua. One thing I will say is that I've read a lot of them because, hey, maybe I want a new take on the isekai genre, and and the regression genre is basically just the isekai genre with a new lick of paint, and I fucking love that. And I fucking love that. The manhwa has good art. What the fuck? One thing I will say is that there are so many manhwa with really good art. This one, comparatively to some other webcomics I've read, has not, you know, is definitely not something like Solo Leveling level. It's aight. It's aight. The anime though, like you take that plot line and you add that to the anime, and you're like, okay, this is I will say this is definitely a read the manhwa show if you want that. I am even surprised this got an anime. I liked this more than Solo Leveling. I'll tell you, this is like the manhwa that I was really into. What's the one? God, there's so many cultivation ones, man. There's so many cultivation ones. me trying to find that one regression cultivation manhwa I read. Which one is it? No. All right, yeah. I've been really into Tales of Demons and Gods recently. I like the world building of that one. Anyone read that one? That's manhwa. Yeah. I mean, I'm just talking about regression. I'm just talking about regression ones now. Like that is one of my favorite ones. That one's pretty good. Yeah. Omnificent Reader. Oh, okay, that one's a good one. That one's a really good one as well. Too many reincarnations of regression. Yeah, that, like I said, this is just isekai with a different lick of paint. Is what I'm saying, man. I already forgot the name of this one. What's the name of this one again, guys? What's the name of this one? What's the name of this one? Return is Magic. Yeah, the Return is Magic. Like, I'm trying to remember anything about this because I read the first 55 chapters. It was about like 50-ish chapters after the first episode came out. I'm trying to remember a lot about this. All I remember is twin-haired girl is tsundere, and I'm like, that just shows how my mind works. that just shows how my mind works. I'm like, yes, twin tails. Yes. Okay. Only 55? Yes, only 55 out of the hundreds of chapters, guys. Manga readers be like, wait, you didn't read to chapter 100? Yeah, like I said, this one honestly was pretty forgettable in terms of me. Maybe that's just because I am now going through a phase where I'm reading a lot of regression / reincarnation manga. So in terms of like the anime sphere, if you're an isekai trash man like me, and you're looking for a new spin on it, you're probably actually going to really like this. You're probably actually going to really like The Return is Magic because it's a different kind of power fantasy, and it's a different enough genre that it feels fresh, but it's similar enough to the isekai genre and the power fantasy genre. For me, there's a lot of other regression manhwa that I like, and this one didn't stand out too much, or hasn't stood out too much. Maybe it gets better, but you know, after 55 chapters worth, I don't remember much about it, and I didn't really feel like the real hook to continue reading. I dropped it after 200 chapters. You tell him, my guy. You tell him. You tell him, man. All right, I'll be right back. I'm going to the toilet quickly. All right, moving on to this one. I don't know why this one's on here. I didn't actually watch this one. This is a mistake, guys. that was a mistake. Stardust Telepath. Yep. Another Shy Girl anime, right? All right, moving on to Blue Protocol. Is that the name of this one? It's the esports anime. The esports anime. Protocol Rain, that's the one. Blue Protocol is a fucking game, right? Watching Protocol Rain made me realize how good of a job King's Avatar did with portraying esports, man. Like, I think we actually got spoiled by King's Avatar, because this is like if you tried to write an esports but added every unnecessary anime character trope, every anime trope into this storyline that was just so goddamn unnecessary. Because, like, one thing that didn't make sense about this was you have an esports team, right? And they had, like, open trials to this esports team. just why? Number one, this is, the guy hasn't played the game. The guy hasn't played the game in like fucking 5 years or some shit. I can't remember. The guy didn't play. The guy gave up the game because he was gaming too hard. He had PTSD because he had PTSD from gaming because I can't remember the backstory. I think his like dad died or something when he was gaming, or he was too addicted to the game. I don't remember. Some overly dramatic backstory. So he gave up the game. Suddenly he picks up again, and he's like, you know what? Let's start an esports team. Why not? Let's do open trials, and let's do open trials to this no-name local esports team. Okay, number one, they find these fucking god tier players that just so happen to just, you know, that just so happen to turn up to the trial. And in my head, I'm thinking, why the fuck would these challenger players come to this trial that is mostly filled with gold tier, platinum tier players? Like, there ain't no way. There is no way you would not already get picked up by some kind of like esports, like some kind of other esports team. I think the people that showed up on their trial are better than the main fucking characters. So I don't know what their motivation to join the team is, man. Like, another thing, and I don't want to harp on this for too long, but it was, I do give the studio credit for, instead of animating something in-game to show their matches, they actually built I believe they built a fully playable game. That they built a fully playable game that they used for the scenes that had their esports in it. Problem with that is it kind of looks like, remember that South Park episode where they did World of Warcraft? It kind of looks like that, but just a really bad rip-off of Counter-Strike. You know, that it's just there is bad CG, and then there is maybe something, like, they obviously put effort into building something playable with the game to make it to make their in-game cutscenes and in-game scenes something that actually felt like an actual game. Unfortunately, it just looks really fucking janky, and every time I saw it, it just took me out of the anime. So, you know, I commend the effort. Maybe they took the wrong approach for that, unfortunately. So, this one gets. Nah, wasn't that bad. Wasn't that bad. Wasn't that bad. Wasn't that bad. Is there anything else that bad? Okay, yeah, that's okay. There we go. There we go. Berserk of Gluttony was looking very lonely in there. Berserk of Gluttony was looking very lonely for a second there. Actually, you're right. This goes down though. This goes down. I actually there was something I enjoyed about all of these. I didn't really enjoy this one so much at all. But yeah, before I move on to the pig isekai one, next time, I don't know if I remember one time I said I wanted more esports anime. Maybe I don't, guys. Maybe I don't. Maybe I just want more King's Avatar. Because that one actually felt like, I don't know how you do a compelling storyline with a believable setting, as much as King's Avatar, where you have an old pro that's been kicked off his team that is trying to just smurf his way up to a new pro league. That's, you know, that is honestly a much more compelling storyline than a bunch of high schoolers try to make a esports team. You know, I don't. Watching this made me realize I don't think you can do something more interesting than King's Avatar. So King's Avatar just needs to have more actual esports in it. I'm waiting for it to get to the esports competitions. Please, that's all I'm waiting for. Because the few competitions that we have seen in King's Avatar were so fucking hype. Moving on to the pig isekai. All right, I'm lying. I'm not gonna cap, guys. I'm not gonna cap. I'm not gonna cap. I was just joking. I gave this an episode. I gave this one episode, guys. I did give this an episode. And it wasn't Inukai's dog. That's what I will say. It was not Inukai's dog. Maybe Inukai gave me the PTSD. Maybe Inukai's dog gave me PTSD. This one actually felt like they tried to go a little bit of a more wholesome route instead of a degen route, which thank God. Just didn't grab me at all, unfortunately. There was not enough about this. You know, some isekai / fantasy shows can grab me with a gimmick. The main character and a pig this time did not grab me. But thankfully, it's no Inukai's dog. So that's all I have to say about that. Moving on to Fooly Cooly Shoegaze or Shoegaze. I don't know actually what's the proper pronunciation of the name of this Fooly Cooly was. Okay. So I do not know a single other person who has actually watched the new season of Fooly Cooly. I actually enjoyed it. I was surprised. I was genuinely surprised. I think this is my favorite Fooly Cooly outside of the original one. It's like genuinely. I think this is my favorite Fooly Cooly outside of the original one. I think a big problem with Fooly Cooly, and a big problem with Fooly Cooly was that it was trying to retread on the magic. No, progressive or better. We'll get to that. I think a big problem with Fooly Cooly was that it was trying to retread on the magic of the original. And it has like failed to really knuckle down on what made the original special in the first place. But one thing that I've really enjoyed about this one was there was and it was just one single aspect, right? Because it was only a 3-episode OVA. One idea I really enjoyed and actually like really fucking hit me was this idea of one of the main characters from a previous season from Progressive, if I remember correctly. What it dealt with the idea of what happens when you have a main character that is in this like world-saving kind of event that has to grow up and face the adult world. And for the first time, I felt like they were trying to do something a little bit different than retread on what the original had done. And I thought that was genuinely interesting. I thought that was genuinely interesting to see. And, you know, it deals with the same themes of, you know, adolescence and growing up as well, just with a different kind of light. Didn't Boruto do that? No, this is done, but it's done through the lens of like, through a Fooly Cooly kind of way, you know? So I honestly, funnily enough, I really, really enjoyed, I enjoyed Fooly Cooly Shoegaze. I know a lot of people didn't. This is gonna be a hot take. I think it's a low A. I think it needed more episodes, and I think honestly, Pillows OP. Pillows OP, man. Pillows is so fucking OP. Pillows is so fucking OP, man. But I think this is a highly, highly underrated Fooly Cooly. Number one, because a lot of people have stopped watching Fooly Cooly. And, you know, we had Fooly Cooly Grunge, which was... It's... 6.17 on Mal. Yeah, I am very, very aware of the Mal score, and I very, very much disagree with the Mal score. Because for the first time since the original Fooly Cooly, I was like, damn, I feel something, and I feel something new that is not just trying to recapture the old original magic of Fooly Cooly. Having said that, I would like them to stop making Fooly Coolies. All right, this was a nice. The only thing that I really liked about this was they tried. Was exactly the idea that I said about. I really resonated with that story. Surprise, surprise! I really resonated with the story of growing up and having to face adulthood. And that was one thing that really stood out to me. But aside from that, I've watched pretty much all of the other Fooly Coolies, and they're just... The original one was kind of like a lightning in a bottle. It came out at the perfect time, and I feel like it was an... I feel like you can never reclaim the magic of what the original Fooly Cooly represented and what it was, because it came out at a time when a lot of us were kind of growing up, kind of watching anime as well, and the way it showcased and dealt with like adolescence, I think resonated with a lot of that, compiled with the animation showcase that it was, and just having this really unique OST. It is a classic for its time period, I think, but there is no way that you can reclaim what the original Fooly Cooly did for its audience at the time with sequels. You can do interesting ideas with, which is what Shoegaze did, in my opinion, but it didn't come close to recapturing the magic. In a sense, it's still just glorified fan service for any Fooly Cooly fans. So I wouldn't recommend this to anyone who wasn't an original fan of Fooly Cooly. But I still found a lot of enjoyment in this one. Okay. Moving on to BullBuster. I wanted to like this one a lot. This one has such a niche appeal, right? I can't think of many people that this would appeal to. BullBuster? No, it is BullBuster by Studio Nuts. Yes. It is BullBuster by Studio Nuts. This one, I don't know how many people this would appeal to, because this has a very, very niche appeal. Because this one almost felt more like a mecha slice of life. As someone who has lived in Japan, I very much resonated with some of the aspects that this dealt with, especially seeing, you know, you take a mecha show, you take this mecha show and you put it in a world where it's a bit more normalized. You know, it's the kaiju are more dealt with like pest control than it is like a world-ending, world-saving event. And I like the fact that it just had this, you know, you had to deal with problems like how much paperwork you'd have to deal with. and now I fucking know that I've assimilated in Japanese culture where I see paperwork being done and I'm like, oh, real shit. They understand. Holy shit. They're dealing with paperwork. Okay, believable. Actual believable world now. So this doesn't appeal to a lot of people, but if you kind of are looking for a different look onto the mecha genre, maybe more slice of lifey, maybe more grounded, you'd probably like this one. Unfortunately, I think its production values hold it back a lot because yes, it doesn't look great. If you've seen the CG monsters, it doesn't look great at all. So I think, where do I put this? You know, I actually D tier. I don't think it's that low. I don't think it's D tier, guys. Can CG put it down to D tier? I'm gonna put it C tier next to Shy. All right, moving on to Spy Family Season 2. So pretty much my opinion throughout Spy Family has not changed. At all. This is a very, very enjoyable show. This is a very, very enjoyable show. One thing I will say about this season of Spy Family is I am so happy we finally got to see Yor do some fucking assassinating, man. Yo, seeing her solo 100 assassins on a ship, or like I think it was 100. Seeing her solo them was like, oh shit, about damn time, baby. I remember thinking to myself in season 1, you know what? I feel like Lloyd on his day, I feel like Lloyd could take Yor. You know, I feel like he could take Yor. After season 2, I'm like, oh, no, yo, I know who wears the pants in this family, man. Yo, you better, yeah, happy wife, happy life. Am I right, lads? There ain't no way. You do not want to piss off your wife at all, man, at all. Lloyd has absolutely no chance after what Yor has showcased in season 2. So right now, like Spy Family, it's a solid A for me, and it's pretty much always been a solid A. And unless something really, really changes about Spy Family, is probably always going to be a solid A. But the biggest thing I will say about it is that it's never been anything but an A. You know, I never come out of a Spy Family episode being like, you know, that was B tier, that was a C tier episode. But at the same time, I never come out of a Spy Family episode going like, yo, that was a fucking S tier episode. To me, I always know what I'm getting with Spy Family. I'm going to be entertained, and it delivers every single fucking time. It is one of the most consistent shows on this list, and that's all I can say about it. I don't think it falls off. I don't think it's an improvement. It is just more fucking great entertainment. And that's all it needs to be. And if it just continues doing that, I won't have anything new to say about it, but I'm still going to enjoy the hell out of it anyway. All right, moving on to Girlfriend. We've gone from Spy X Family to Girlfriend. One thing about Girlfriend is that, unfortunately, I think it was just overshadowed by 100 Girlfriends this season. Because I didn't really think too much about Girlfriend, because it just... 100 Girlfriends was just way too overpowering. And then I ended up watching season 2. And then I realized, oh, hold on a second. Wait a minute, hold on a second. This is still really fucking enjoyable. This is still really enjoyable for this, because I think the big difference between Girlfriend, I think the big difference between Girlfriend and 100 Girlfriends is that this ain't, they're both not based in reality at all, but this just goes off the fucking rails. This is completely unhinged, right? This is still trashy entertainment, but there's still a bit more logic to this. There's still a bit more logic to this than this one right here. This one is more reminiscent to this one more feels like a parody. This one more feels like, hey, let's take the harem genre and try to play it off as straight as we can. And is more typical like that. But I still really fucking enjoyed it. I forgot. This is still really enjoyable. This is right up my alley. Watching Girlfriend made me realize maybe this is just the future of the harem genre. Maybe this is the future of the harem genre. Maybe we don't need 100 girls, you know, maybe 4. It's, you know, this one only has 4 girls, whatever. It's still really enjoyable. And you know what? Maybe the era of having a weak-ass main character who has commitment issues and can't pick a fucking girl for 200 chapters, maybe the era of that is over. You know, maybe let's just indulge in the harem for a bit. Because we have both 100 Girlfriends and Girlfriend, and I have enjoyed both of these trashy-ass harem shows way more than a lot of other harem shows that have come out recently. I don't know if this is definitely a hot take. I've enjoyed these shows more than quintessential quintuplets. And I think, even though critically speaking, that's probably one of the more interesting harem genres, I think I was just like reaching. I think at that point I was just like, I want something different with the harem genre. By the time I read it, and then these two shows came on, and I was like, all right, maybe I still like harem. The war is over. Everybody wins now. That's what I'm saying, man. That's what I'm saying. Yo, the era of war anime is over. We just want everyone to win now, man. We just want everyone to win. Quince had a bad ending. I mean, yeah. I mean, it depends. It depends on the girl that. It depends on. Maybe I'm just salty. Maybe I'm just salty, guys. Maybe that's the real reason. Maybe if my girl won, I'd be like, actually, quintessential quintuplets was that's peak. That's peak. Maybe. Shit. Why are you gonna call me out like that, man? Fuck. Am I that predictable? Nah. Yeah, you're right. I think you're right. Actually, shit. I think I read Quince, and I was like, well, my girl didn't win, so this was a shit show. Let's just read a harem where every girl wins. And I'm like, oh shit, yeah, this is some good shit, man. This is some good shit. All right. Moving on to Attack on Titan final season, final episode, part 2. Which, yeah, I forgot came out in fall. I've made my opinion clear on Attack on Titan. Wow, this out of every show I've seen so far, I have not seen such a wide range of different rankings to what the fuck. I've seen every single ranking. Like, I've made my opinion about the Attack on Titan ending. It's an ending that I am satisfied with. I am satisfied with the ending because there were a few issues that I had with the ending. I think there are some things that could have been laid out more clearly, especially when it came to Eren's character and Eren's motivation. I feel like you really, really had to dig down deep and make some assumptions in terms of what he was doing, and just having a little bit more information and having a little bit more time regarding Eren's character, because it was such a big mystery of season 4 of what was going through Eren's mind and what his motivations were. Having a little bit more time just to clear things out, I think would have made the ending better. Having said that, I think the ending did pretty much everything it needed to do. It didn't fumble or anything like that. It landed on 2 feet. Sometimes it was a little bit messy, but I am completely satisfied with it. In terms of the ending itself, I will give it like low A tier, because, you know, it was kind of like the end. It was a send-off that could have been cleaner, but it was still the send-off that Attack on Titan deserved. Now, if I'm talking about Attack on Titan as a whole, because this is just the final fucking episode. This is just one final episode. Attack on Titan as a whole is easily one of my favorite anime of all time. And the ending didn't ruin its legacy at all. It's insane to think that how much of this plot was planned out and laid out right from episode 1, and the amount of patience that the mangaka had when writing such an epic story. I do genuinely think that this was the end of an era, because for a lot of us, Attack on Titan was the anime that got us into anime. For some of us, it was the thing that represented like my adult life. Attack on Titan, you know, I have shows like Pokemon or something like that, Dragon Ball, Naruto, that represented, hey, this is like my childhood life. This is like my teenage life. Attack on Titan to me was that show that was there when I was going into adulthood, you know, and I think that is represented in the type of show that it is. It's not a shonen show. It's more closer to, you know, a seinen show in my opinion. But it was a show that you could easily recommend to any adult out there. And the way it's evolved season to season is something I'm going to think about probably forever. It's a show that's going to stick with me because it has some of the most compelling television you can find in entertainment. I genuinely think that Season 3 Part 2 is some of the most compelling, edge-of-your-seat entertainment that just exists out there right now. That is my favorite season of Attack on Titan, but that isn't the only good part of Attack on Titan. I can talk about so many amazing moments, and not every character might have gotten the spotlight as much as I wanted to, but there are so many characters in the show, in the series, that have left an impression on me. And I think that even though the ending was probably my least favorite part of Season 4, Attack on Titan as a whole will still go down as one of the greatest anime ever made, in my opinion. And that's not going to change. And somehow, I was never spoiled on the ending. Somehow. All right. Season 4 was the worst season. It so was not, man. It so was not. Season 4 was still fucking great, man. Just seeing the evolutions of these different characters. I mean, it's not my favorite season, but it's still really, really, really fucking good, man. Because there are a few shows that are like Attack on Titan, where every season tries to do something different. Season 4, you might have enjoyed Season 4 less than Season 3, but Season 3 was very, very different from Season 4, and it was good for an entirely different reason. And the fact that one show can do something entirely different with its tone, with its characters, with sometimes its entire genre, and still be peak in any one of those genres, that's a testament to how fucking great this show was. And then we talk about Shield Hero. And then we get to Shield Hero. Oh god. Oh boy. What can we say about Shield Hero? So, I had hopes for Shield Hero, because number one, watching Shield Hero Season 3, Shield Hero Season 3, there was a clear jump in quality in terms of the animation. The animation in Season 3 looks... I don't know if they changed studio or if they changed staff members, but even aside from the opening, the animation looks a lot better. It looks a lot better than it did in Season 2. It has a tournament arc that lasts for about 2 episodes. And then this may be a hot take. I mean, I'm comparing mid with mid here. I think I actually preferred Season 2. Season 2 had some interesting... The second half of Season 2 was actually pretty interesting. In terms of... I don't know if I could... You guys don't fucking care. You guys don't fucking care. In terms of isekaiing the isekai protagonist and having like a double isekai, I was like, oh, this is an interesting concept right now. And I thought... I thought that was like a... I thought that could be an interesting plot hook to really give the show a cool direction to go. And Season 2 ended, and I was like, okay, I actually... Bro, the CGI turtle, we don't talk about the CGI turtle. But I thought that was an interesting plot development that could have taken this somewhere interesting. And then Season 3 happened, and I was like, okay, we start off with a tournament arc. All right, I'm entertained. And then it just... I don't really know where it's going now. It's just kind of boring, which is it's just turning into Like, at least with the first season, it had this revenge aspect to it that you were waiting for the payoff. And now it's just your very typical isekai fantasy without any hook or any reason to continue, like, anything that stands out about it. So there is no goal. There's like this... There is a vague goal, and that goal is preparing for the next legendary monster that's going to invade. But it's like a lot of season 3 is just really fucking boring slice of life stuff with characters that I am not interested in, and somehow they made the spear hero even creepier, man. All I'm saying is he ain't beating the allegations with season 3, man. He ain't beating the allegations with season 3. Oh my god. Bro. I'm like, what? Bro's making Rudius look like he's a functional member of society, man. Why are you doing that? Like, I don't know why this is the case. But it is the case, man. Yeah, season 3. It's only low C because I enjoyed the tournament arc episodes, and it does have an increase in quality. But it, like, the midway through the season, this completely lost me on Shield Hero. Like, this is midway through season 3. This lost me on Shield Hero. I am uninvested in Shield Hero now. It pulled me back in for a second, and then it lost me. And I don't think there's any. I think this is it. I think this is it, guys. I don't think I'm gonna get back into it. I say this every fucking time. I say this every time. But I don't think this is it. Moving on to Goblin Slayer, Season 2. Now, I will say, I understand the appeal of Goblin Slayer. I understand... Oh, thank you very much, dude, for the gift subs. I will say that I understand the appeal of Goblin Slayer, where it is just a fantasy played straight. You know, you come into a show like Goblin Slayer, and it's a show about slaying goblins. And that is it. And that is pretty much it. You get exactly what it says on the tin. And oh boy, does he continue saying goblins. And spoiler much? I know, right? Spoiler much. And I get that. It's a show that plays its fantasy setting completely straight. It kind of gives you kind of like the vibe of going on a playing some D&D with some mates and actually just playing it straight and not having someone fuck around with it as well. To me, Goblin Slayer Season 2 it was like B tier, you know. It doesn't appeal to me too much because normally when it comes to like the fantasy and isekai genre, I normally like to have a little bit of a hook or something a little bit different going on, other than just playing it straight. Goblin Slayer is something that I always know what to expect from Goblin Slayer, and this season, I think they're trying to develop the characters a little bit more of this season. The first arc was pretty boring, if I'm being honest. I didn't like the first arc where you had this young guy who you had this young guy who wanted to learn how to slay goblins and asked with the guy with the kid with the glasses. Yeah, that kid. Okay, he kind of sucked. I'm not gonna lie, he kind of sucked. And then it kind of went into like, the season was a little bit more slice of lifey, and I kind of feel like they're trying to develop the characters, and I'm waiting to see if Goblin Slayer will actually become a more interesting character, because I get it, he has PTSD, he has trauma, but my god, I feel for everyone around Goblin Slayer trying to hold a single conversation with him because everything revolves around goblins. I'm like, oh my god, Jesus, can you stop talking? I get it. You're the Goblin Slayer. Can you stop talking about goblins for 1 second? I get it. All right, you hate the goblins. Does your entire life need to revolve around goblins? Oh, are you not sleeping? Oh, it's because you need to be awake for goblins. Okay, I get it. But, I do see the appeal of Goblin Slayer. So yeah, not much more to say about it. I believe that... Has Season 3 been announced? Has Season 3 been announced at all? Because one thing that did worry me about Season 2 is that it did feel like the threat of goblins... the threat of goblins did feel a bit lesser than previous seasons. I'm not sure if that's just because the entire premise of the show is kind of like waning me a bit. But it did feel like it did feel like, I wasn't as scared of the goblins this season as previous seasons. Season 3 not announced yet. Yeah. So it makes me worried about what the future developments of Goblin Slayer will be. Which moves us on to Shangri-La Frontier, a gamer show for actual, real fucking gamers. This is the real gamer show. Shangri-La Frontier was... It was an A tier for me. It was an A tier for me. This is just enjoyable. I don't think it's S tier. It's not something that's gonna. It's not fucking peak anime, guys. It's not peak. But it is a very, very enjoyable show. It's still going on. It is still going on. Which might be why it's still S tier. I mean, it's still A tier. Sorry. maybe it'll get to S tier. Who knows? One thing that really impressed me about Shangri-La Frontier is how, it is a show about the sweatiest gamers being as sweaty as they can possibly be. That's basically the show, right? It's like when you see a half-naked man in Dark Souls, you need to run the fucking other way because you are about to get dominated, man. But one thing I wondered was, okay, it's a show about gaming, right? How do you add stakes to a video game, right? How do you add stakes to a video game? And I think it did this really fucking amazing thing where it didn't, something like Sword Art Online. There were some arcs in Sword Art Online, which I believe was in the second season, where it was just them playing a game, right? It was just them playing a game. And that always felt like it was the lower stakes arcs of Sword Art Online, and you just don't care. You just don't care about it. So the best arcs of Sword Art Online are normally the ones where the stakes seem the highest. So how do you add stakes to an anime about gaming where the stakes are just them playing the game? And it does something similar to what we see in the speedrunning community, where the stakes in the game is trying to do this achievement that no other gamer has done before. And it's the entire journey of doing this achievement that no other gamer in this game has done before. And compared to life or death situation, those stakes seem a lot lower, but just having those stakes there just makes me so much more invested in the world of Shangri-La Frontier. And that's what I think is great about it. It proves that you don't always need some fucking world-ending stakes to get people invested into your story, even if it's just a video game. And I think that's what's great. It just understands gamers. It understands that gamers don't really care about, hey, if you die in the game, you die in real life. No, it's like, hey, here's this one achievement that no one has ever achieved in the video game. And you're like, oh shit, I hear the summoning salt music right now. I'm waiting, you're waiting for that fucking summoning salt music to come in, and you know that shit's gonna be hype as fuck. So yeah, that's what I really like about Shangri-La Frontier. It understands gamers. It's an anime that understands gamers way more than something like Sword Art Online. But you know, I feel like if you're into Soulsborne games, it feels like this is the closest kind of like game genre that Shangri-La Frontier kind of portrays. It's about a sweaty ass gamer who normally will grind through the most broken games possible, and suddenly he plays Elden Ring, and he's like, okay, actually, how do I be godlike in this game? And yeah, I think this is just a really enjoyable show. Honestly, A tier. All right. Moving on to... Holy shit, what are these shows we are ending off with now? What are these shows we are ending with, man? What are these shows we are ending with? Alright, Frieren is clearly D tier. We don't care about Frieren. It's another fantasy show, guys. It's just a trashy fantasy show. We don't care about Frieren. Alright, guys? All right, okay, guys. Okay. I'll move it up, okay, guys. I'll move it up. All right, I'll move it up. All right. Is Frieren still the #1 rated anime on my anime list? Let me see. My anime list rankings. Top anime. Okay. It is still. It is. Oh my god. Move. What's this? What's the score? It is still the #1 top rated anime of all time on my anime list. Does it deserve to be there? Probably not. I don't think it's the #1 anime of all time just yet. But it is still really damn good. It is still really, really fucking good. So when I read the manga of Frieren, it wasn't as far. I didn't read as far as to what I have watched in the anime right now, and I'm actually really fucking glad. Because the beginning of the manga, it sells you on this concept of having the point of view of an elf, a long-living elf who has lived a long life, and what it's like from her perspective. And then with how the plot evolves, it's kind of evolving more into your standard Tolkien-esque fantasy adventure. But the thing is, it's still really fucking good. It's still like, even though it's moved past the kind of gimmick of having the point of view of having this long-living elf and the sadness and emotional things you deal with that, it's just now transforming into just a by the books, not so much by the books, but just a classic fantasy tale. And that's really all there is to say about Frieren. Because I think what it does so well is using Frieren as a character. Normally I hate the trope of oh, I'm a girl without emotions. Oh, I'm discovering emotions. Oh, what is this thing that I'm feeling now? Is this emotions? Am I feeling emotions? Like, normally I hate that fucking trope. But I think it just works so well with Frieren because it makes sense for her character, because she's not she's not like without emotions. Just the way her character is, she's just emotionally distant, you know. And I think there's a big difference between full Kudere and what Frieren is, which is just really emotionally distant, because why should she care about the people around her when she has a lifespan where she'll most likely forget about them, where they'll just be a blip in her entire life. And her emotions of just trying to discover, you know, what is really important, and meeting him all, and just having someone who was having someone in your life for such a short amount of time, but then having that person have such a huge effect on a being that lives for so long, I think is just really goddamn beautiful. And every scene where she, you know, learns something new, that hits right here, man. That hits right here. I think out of every show, this one has got me tearing up more than every show combined. Yeah, every show combined. Because it hits hard. So that's what I love about Frieren. What it didn't need to do was go this fucking hard with its animation, man. It didn't need to go this fucking hard with its animation. Like, I was in this for the feels. I was in this for the tears. And then out of nowhere, they're like, wait a minute, let's drop a really fucking hard action scene. Let's just flex our animation. Oh, what's that? We want a dance scene? Here, let's drop a banger fucking dance scene as well. What this reminded me of was Mushoku Tensei Season 1, where this is just a high production show in every way, shape, or form, even if it doesn't need to, right? It's not trying to have the best looking action scenes, but it just does it purely for the fact of it's had enough time to cook. It's a production that has clearly had enough time to cook, and this is what happens when you see a truly polished piece of work. And yeah, it's just a fucking great show. Was so afraid they would fumble the anime before. I'm so glad I was wrong. I am so glad that I only read up to a certain point in the manga, because the animation and the anime adaptation is going so hard that I'm kind of glad that I'm into unknown territory. Not to mention, Evan Cole is fucking killing it with the OST as well. Oh, everything about this just hits so hard, man. Frieren is really good, and it's still even cooking now. It's not over yet. It's not over. And I'm very, very excited to see where it continues going after this. Which moves us on to Apothecary Dairies. Hold on, I'm going to shut my door because I think... my mum just being my mum here. So I have had a really strange experience with Apothecary Diaries, because I'd obviously heard that a lot of manga readers really, really hype this up a lot. And I watched the first few episodes and I was like, I'm enjoying myself. I really am. What is the hook that keeps me watching every single episode? What is the hook that keeps me coming back? And then I never figured out what that hook was. But for some reason, when a new episode comes out, I'm watching it immediately. And I realized I'm fucking addicted to this show. Like every time a new episode comes out, I'm like, I gotta fucking watch this right now. And I realized this is just really cool characters. Really, like, it's just nice characters. Mao Mao is such an interesting character and such a breath of fresh air when it comes to female protagonists in anime. It's what this reminds me of, right? What watching this every week reminds me of is, I don't know who will have this experience, but when I was a kid, I would come into the living room every so often when I was a kid, and my mum would be watching this badly dubbed Thai, like this shoddily Thai dub of this soap opera, when it like of this Chinese or Korean soap opera to do with, like, you know, the Imperial Temple or some shit like that. And I'm like, Mum, what the fuck are you watching? Why are you watching this? This looks so boring. This looks so boring. And then here I am getting invested in the politics of the temple and seeing Mao Mao just kind of taking, like, putting her influence into the temple politics of everything. Because I initially said that, yeah, this is House MD in Imperial China. That's not the only reason I really love this show, because there is the detective aspect of this show, and there is also the political aspect of this show as well. Temple. I keep calling it temple. It's a palace. Sorry, yeah, palace. Sorry, that's my monk mind. But it's like watching the politics of this palace, watching the politics of this palace, and just seeing like which girls are getting bullied, who's bullying who, and just seeing Mao Mao just like fucking assert her dominance in all of these little things, little cliques, little circles. It's like, ooh, I feel like the tea. I feel like one of those girls just like drinking the most delectable tea. You're like, ooh, she did what? No, she did not slap her. Oh, you pop off, queen, you pop off. The tea, it's literally seeing the tea spilled, and you're like, oh, this is some delectable tea right now. Oh, this is great. It literally, like, I feel like I understand the appeal of soap operas now. And you take that, and then you add in the detective fucking Mao Mao being a crack addict in disguise aspect of the show, and it's just a fucking great show all around. It is just a really, really well written show that is really compelling, and there is not so much a hook as it is so much just, it's just a pleasure just to see Mao Mao as a character just exist in this whole political palace system, and just seeing what kind of bullshittery she encounters and how she's going to deal with it. I think it's been a while since I've had just a singular main female character engage me this much. So I enjoy Apothecary Diaries a lot. So yeah, it's an S tier show. I put it on every time, and I'm like, what's gonna happen this week? And I have a good experience every time. Moving on. Same as the main character, I enjoy Mao Mao more than Frieren. I mean, yeah, it's a completely different. They're engaging for completely different reasons. So Undead Unluck is around A tier. It is a very, very, very enjoyable shonen. The thing that stands out to me about this the most is I always like it when you have superpowers, right? and then you have characters that really seem like they properly think about how to use their superpowers, right? Because that is the vibe. That is the vibe with most of the characters in Undead Unluck. And that's what makes it really, really fucking fun, in my opinion. Like, you know, for example, the main character has regenerative abilities. We've seen this before. And even though we've seen it with a bunch of different characters before, it has put enough thought into what the mechanics with regeneration with regenerating your body is. It puts enough thought into it to make you think, if this person truly hones their skill and use their power like a weapon, like an expert master would, what exploits can you think about how to, what exploits can you think of that can use your powers in interesting ways to use them in ways that we haven't really seen in other, you know, other action shows or other action shonen or comic books. And it does this really, really fucking well. And that's one thing that really engages me about the action in Undead Unluck. Undead is just Undead is just underpressed agony. Yeah. Fire Punch is the other show that really makes me think like this as well. But Undead Unluck and Fire Punch has an entirely different tone going into both of them. Right. Unduck. Fuck, did I say that? Did I actually say that? Oh shit. Okay. But yeah, like I was saying, it is a fun show and it's not done anything more than just be like a fun action show to me. I heard later that they do a really good job with, I'm not sure if this is correct, but it turns into like a kind of like a shonen Cinderella story, which is interesting, which is something which gives me a reason to continue watching it, because I was unsure about if there was going to be a more romance aspect to this, so I don't know. As it stands, I enjoyed the action in this. It's about the same level as Mashle. You know, like a lot of people like to call shows like Mashle and Undead the M word, because it's a tier below some of the other really high profile shonens. But considering I do think this is a tier below, it's a literal tier below some of the other high profile shonens, it's still fucking A tier for me. it's still the A tier for me. Because we leave off at, oh, hey honey, you need anything?
Where's the
charger? I need it right now.
What? Do we not have another one?
Yeah, we have another one. Do you want me to get you one?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Okay. Which leaves us off with Jujutsu Kaisen Season 2, baby. Oh, ain't no way a show can be controversial. Am I right? A show... There is no way a show can be controversial. Season 1 was better? Oh, okay. S for spoilers. Well, now that season 2 is over, so for the longest time, if you are a regular viewer of these tier lists, I talk about Jujutsu Kaisen a lot, and I said it was still cooking. Give it time, it's still cooking, and everyone continued talking to me about the Shibuya arc. Everyone was saying, hey, this is the arc. This is the arc that is going to sell you on Jujutsu Kaisen, right? This is it. This is it. This is it. After that, you'll understand why it has the reputation it does. And I don't know what it was like in the manga, but manga readers, you're alright. It fucking cooked, and it has delivered. And it has not just delivered. It has delivered possibly one of the purest and best experiences you can get when it comes to pure action shonen. I don't know what can really match Jujutsu Kaisen Season 2 when it comes to just pure hype action, pound for pound. Obviously, the big talking point with Season 2 has been Mappa's treatment of its animators, which, you know, a lot of us have been aware of this. And it blows my mind that even with all of these stories coming out, how much these animators delivered with this season. It is, I do not have enough, I cannot give enough respect to the teams and the animators that worked on Season 2, because what you have delivered is an absolute masterpiece of spectacle. This is it. This is the peak of spectacle and action. Demon Slayer doesn't match this. Like, Demon Slayer might have one or two scenes that like deliver the hype and the pure great animation, but the thing that blew my mind about Jujutsu Kaisen Season 2 was I would put on the episode, right? And I'd be mid-season, and you'd see a fight, and you're like, holy shit, this is some of the coolest animation I've seen all year. This is some of the coolest choreography I've seen all year. And then you'd put on the next episode, and it would top itself. And you're like, I am not going to see anything cooler than this. And then it tops itself. And then it keeps going. And then it doesn't stop until the arc stops. And I'm like, how the actual fuck is anything going to compete with this? Normally, when it comes to the end of the year, we have the countdown. We have something like the Crunchyroll Awards, where we vote on the top anime fight of the year. The top anime fight of the year is just all gonna be Jujutsu Kaisen fights, and it fucking deserves it as well. It is, like, it is insane how cool some of the scenes, like how, like, some of the coolest stuff I've seen just in anime in general is contained within Jujutsu Kaisen Season 2, man. That's just it. Like, not every episode might have the same polish as some other episode, but Jujutsu Kaisen's weakest episode, like the Shibuya arc's weakest episode, is still better than some of the peaks of other shonen action shows. You know, there is a lot to be, you know, that's purely for the action side of things. the plot side of things, there is a lot more to be discussed about the plot side of things. Personally, I had a weird experience with Jujutsu Kaisen this season. Had a weird experience, right? Because I'm not gonna spoil anything, right? All I will say is that there were a lot of deaths this season, right? There were some people that didn't make it, and I had a weird experience because there was not a single plot point that wasn't already spoiled to me. There wasn't a single big turning point that wasn't already spoiled to me that immediate morning, or 2 weeks ago, or 3 weeks ago. So I came into this knowing a lot of the big developments that were going to happen and the characters that were going to die. So it gave me a perspective of, instead of being shocked by the developments, it gave me the viewpoint of, maybe, like, I don't know if this is a hot take, maybe with all of these big developments that have happened, maybe the Shibuya arc came like one arc too early. You know, in terms of like purely a plot standing. I feel like maybe it would have hit me harder. If I had more time for these characters to reach their full potential, or see a bit more of these characters. And because the shock factor was taken from me, because thank you, Jujutsu Kaisen fandom, you've made it really hard for me to come into this series blind. Because that shock factor was taken from me, I didn't have that shock factor, and for me, it like some of the characters that were taken away, I felt were taken away before I'd had enough time to really truly care about them. So it makes me question, hey, did this hit hard purely for a shock factor, or purely because people care about these characters? So that was my big complaint, and I feel like maybe if the Shibuya arc came like a little bit like later, I would, like, these big shocking developments would have hit me a lot harder. But as it stands, aside from those shocking developments, the big standout about Jujutsu Kaisen is it's just unmatched.
Am I the only one who gets confused and ignores the power system in Season 2? Cursed spirits, cursed manipulation, cursed techniques, cursed energy, domains, red, blue, and purple. I heard it gets even worse.
I don't know what happens after this. The thing I was going to say is, right now, there is just nothing that comes close to Jujutsu Kaisen when it just comes to the rule of cool, man. Like, that's why I didn't really care about the plot too much, because holy shit, Jujutsu Kaisen just has so much fucking style, man. It just has so much style, you know. I don't really care, you know. It's just fucking cool, man. And you pair that with some of the coolest scenes and some of the coolest animations, and you have a recipe for the modern classic shonen arc, man. We're going to be talking about, you know how, like, in my generation, everyone talks about Soul Society. Everyone talks about Chunin exams, man. These were the arcs that made us fucking anime fans. That is the Shibuya arc is that for modern times. It is. I'm not sure how hard this went in the manga, because from an animation perspective and from an anime perspective, some of the best action we've ever seen concentrated into all of these 20 odd episodes of Shibuya. I can't remember how many episodes. This is some of the coolest stuff we've ever seen in anime in the shonen genre. And it's definitely left its mark on anime history. I think it's going to be a long time since we see a singular arc just go this goddamn hard. Because maybe I'm being old now, and maybe I'm like, remember the days where, like, I'm gonna be like, new anime fans, look at you new anime fans, you guys are spoiled. You got 20 episodes of amazing action and amazing animation back in my day.
Does JJK manga fandom take first place for the worst spoiling community of all time?
Back in my day, I'd have to watch 100 episodes of Naruto to get one really cool action scene, man. Back in my day, the pain, like, we had to wait until the pain arc, and then we got 2 really banger animated episodes. And here, now we're at a point in the industry where Jujutsu Kaisen, shows like Jujutsu Kaisen, they just put their foot on the gas and they just don't have a break, you know, and it's just pure fucking banger action scene after banger action scene for all 10, 12 episodes. And I don't know how long it's going to be until we get another show that is going to have this many episodes that just pop off this hard. because God forbid, the animators definitely did not have enough time for it. So yeah, Jujutsu Kaisen is S tier. The Shibuya arc did live up to the hype, and this is like, the Shibuya arc is the reason we watch shonen. Let's be honest, this is the reason we watch shonen action anime, man. This is it. This is it. This is the entire reason. But that is my tier list for the fall anime season, guys. That is it. Did you agree with me? Did you disagree with me? Was there any shows that is not on this list that you want to put on? Leave a comment in the section down below, or you can just like and subscribe if I do not know what I'm doing. My brain is fucking fried. My brain is fucking fried. Yeah, leave a comment down in the description, whatever. Like and subscribe. But anyway, I've been Gigok, and I'll see you all next time. Bye-bye. It's that